Hey guys, this is Rob Shoecraft with Three Storm Fitness. In this video, I want to discuss something that has come up a lot in conversations that I've had with people, but also it's one of the most discussed and probably one of the most misunderstood facets of fitness, and that is the whole conversation of bulking versus bulking. I'm going to do a lot of air quotes here. Bulking versus toning and shaping. We'll kind of lump toning and shaping into the same category. First of all, before I get into it, I just want to say that what I'm going to discuss here, I'm going to be using lots and lots of generalizations, and that's mainly in the interest of time. I don't want to get into all the details. Not all of this is going to apply to 100% of people 100% of the time. Everybody has different circumstances and anatomy and makeup. Just know that generally speaking, all of this is true. I'm also mainly talking to men as well as women, but I think females in particular, just from my experience, tend to have a bigger concern with not getting too bulky or wanting to just tone. I just want to, I don't want to get too bulky. I just want to tone. I hear that a lot. I know that other personal trainers do, and if you're a female, or like I said, or a male, I've heard from males too, but mainly females, you've probably said it, or you've at least thought it, and that's totally fine. That's cool. But let's talk about what we're actually talking about. I also just want to briefly say that none of this is groundbreaking. I'm not coming up with anything new here. It's been discussed a lot. I've heard it ad nauseum just from my research. It's a big part of my job. One of the most well put explanations of it that I've heard recently, well, it's probably a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, but Joe DeFranco, who's a strength coach and trainer who I really like. He trains a lot of the WWE athletes and professional athletes and high school athletes, college athletes. But WWE, look at female WWE wrestlers. They are very well put together, and I mean that as a person who has an appreciation for human anatomy, not in any other way you want to interpret that. But he knows what he's talking about. He gave a lot of the points I'm going to hit on kind of overlap with some of the things that he said. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about bulking versus toning and shaping. And this kind of came up recently with one of my clients. We were having a discussion, and I'm paraphrasing here quite a bit, but she was echoing a concern that somebody had that said you don't want to lift heavy weight because you don't want to get too bulky. Let me just break that down for a second. First, what really should be said about that is you don't want to eat too much crappy food because you don't want to get bulky. So let's just define what bulkiness versus toned or shapely, I don't know, is. So bulking, you're bulky when you have in almost every single explanation here, you're going to be bulky because you have too much fat. It's there are some cases, if you look at professional bodybuilders, especially not the clean ones, the ones who like to use I'm not judging, but just frankly speaking, the ones who use some extra supplements, some supplements off the record to get bigger. Yes, you can be bulky and be lean at the same time. Basically have a lot of muscle to be classified as bulky without all the excess fat. But for 99% of the rest of the population, especially women, bulkiness implies that you have fat. You have more fat than you should have on your body, or at least that you're comfortable with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be calling yourself bulky or somebody who you see bulky. So we've broken that down. In almost every possible definition, bulkiness means you have an excess of fat. Okay, so then from that point, now you can be bulky without muscle, in other words, fat. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but let's just call it what it is, or you can be bulky with muscle. So all that really means is that you have muscle on your bones, and you've trained hard, you've worked hard, maybe not necessarily had the cleanest diet, maybe didn't have too much cardio, but you've been doing a lot of resistance training and you've developed muscle, which has plenty of benefits other than just the aesthetics, other than just the way you look. But you have some fat on top of that. So yes, you have some extra, we'll call it bulk. That's what everybody wants to call it. You have some extra bulk. You have muscle with fat, okay? So I think we've defined that pretty clearly. Bulk is either, regardless of whether you have muscle or not, it's the presence of fat. That's kind of the overlying theme there. Toning and shaping are some wonderful buzzwords that have been created in the fitness industry over the last few years. All that really means is that you don't have very much fat. So the shape of what gives your appendages, what gives your butt, your legs, arms, neck, everything shape is muscle. Muscle is what gives your body shape. Without it, if you just have a bunch of fat, or you don't have any muscle, or very, obviously everybody has some, but very little to speak of, it's not going to be very, very dynamic, very shapely. So, guys, can you stay out of here? Stay out of here, please. Thank you. Sorry about that. So basically what toning is the presence of muscle with the absence of fat. So lean, you're lean, you have a lot of lean mass. That's what's going to give that shape that everybody's looking for. So it has everything to do with diet, really. Diet and training. If you want to get shapely, you have to develop muscle, and you have to lose fat. And one of the greatest ways to lose fat is by gaining muscle. It's basically your engine for your body to burn fat, and one of the greatest ways to keep fat off, in addition to that, and lose fat, is through diet. You can work out 2 hours a day, have on-point training, just completely go after it, kill it, have wonderful recovery practices, do everything right in the gym, get plenty of sleep. But if your diet is off, if you're not taking care of your diet, yeah, you'll get stronger, you'll develop muscle, you'll see all sorts of great benefits, bone density, you'll be able to move better, but you'll still look fat or bulky. It's just kind of the way it is, with the exception being for, like, you know, younger folks or just people with just freak metabolisms. But again, I'm generalizing here. So you have to take care of what you eat. That is the number one thing when it comes to, if you want to develop shape, but you don't want to get bulky, you have to take care of your diet. All right, and then you have to train if you want to develop that shape. And by training, I mean through resistance training. You could walk. I think walking is one of the greatest things you could do. I'm not hating on it at all. It's absolutely wonderful. I encourage all my clients to walk as often as they can for many, many reasons. But when it comes to developing muscle, it doesn't really do anything for you unless you're coming up from absolutely zero activity whatsoever. For most people, walking or just basic steady state cardio doesn't really do anything to gain muscle. You have to develop it through resistance training. And resistance training, again, I'm generalizing. We're going to break that down into two classifications. We're going to go with kind of light to medium weight and medium to high range. So maybe you're using a weight. We'll just use the most basic example you possibly can. We'll use dumbbell curls. You're curling some dumbbells, and you're using it at a weight that you can do maybe 12 to 20 reps at. Okay, that'll be kind of our general rep range. We'll say 8 to, we'll say 6. Let's just go big sweeping range. 6 all the way up to 25 reps. So this is a rep. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then on the other side of the spectrum, other way of resistance training, we have, a lot of people refer to it as like more of a strength range, but we're going to say 1 a weight, you're using a heavier weight, much heavier weight than you would over here with the lighter, higher reps, lighter weight, heavyweight training, and you're going with low reps because, quite frankly, you probably can't do any more reps at this weight that you're using because it's heavy. So we had that split up into kind of light, medium resistance training and heavy resistance training. There's a huge misconception over the effects of heavy resistance training. People often will associate that with bulking. You don't want to lift, I hear this all the time, you don't want to lift heavy weights because you don't want to get too bulky. Again, just to review, I've talked quite a bit here, but just to review, you're not getting bulky. For most of us, you're not getting bulky because of the presence of muscle. You're getting bulky because of the presence of fat, okay? So get your diet under control. But then let's dive into this a little deeper. Okay, so heavy resistance training, what is that really doing? Well, we're gonna put the medium and light resistance training here on the side for a second. We're gonna break down, heavy resistance training does, what's primarily what it does is creates, it's called myofibril hypertrophy. Now don't worry about what that is. Just basically what that means is, so your muscles, they contain muscle fibers. We'll just leave it at that. Muscle fibers is what give you those, you know, somebody who's really lean, especially you see it a lot in the shoulders. It's one of the places that has the least amount of fat. In the shoulders, you see somebody who's really lean, who has some muscle. You see those striations, those little kind of those cuts. Those are essentially your muscle fibers. So strength training, heavy strength training, creates density in those muscle fibers. Now, a couple things before I go too far down the rabbit hole. I'll try to stop myself, but those muscle fibers, they're not generally very bulky. What I'd like you to do for homework here is, after this, you watch this video, I want you to Google lightweight female powerlifters. Lightweight female powerlifters. Now, the reason I'm not saying heavyweight is because they are bulky, mostly. Not hating on heavyweight female powerlifters or Olympic lifters. It's just a little outside of the scope here, and for me to explain why they are heavyweight would be a much longer video. So, just for the sake of this argument, I want you to look at lightweight female powerlifters or lightweight female Olympic lifters. And I want you to take a look at those pictures, and without being too, shallow, I want you to just take a look and ask yourself, is that somebody who I'd like to look like? I'll just answer the question for you. Yes, probably that's somebody who you would like to look like. They look great. They're not very bulky because, number one, they are taking care of their diet. They need to meet certain weight classes. So for the sake of performance, they're taking care of their diet to keep their weight at a certain level. But you'll also notice that while they lift super heavy weights, Steffi Cohen, for instance, somebody I've been looking at a lot lately, that makes me sound like a creep, looking into a lot lately because she fascinates me in terms of what she's able to do. This is a girl who's 123 pounds and she can deadlift almost 500. That's 4 times her body weight. That makes her one of the strongest people, not women, one of the strongest people pound for pound on the face of the earth. She's an impressive athlete, and she looks, in my opinion, fantastic. She and all of her peers, male and female, they lift very heavy weight. They keep their reps generally low, so under 5 reps, super heavy, and they develop that myofibril, they develop that muscle fiber density. Now, not only is the muscle fiber density not very bulky, but it gives you something that you can actually use. It's when I've been training with somebody for a while and they get stronger and they develop, well, let's just leave it at that. When you develop muscle fiber density, you're getting stronger. There's some other facets of strength like intramuscular coordination, that sort of thing. But when it comes to something you could look at, physiological aspect of it, strength comes from muscle fiber density. Let's just leave it at that. Now on this other end, you have The lighter, the medium medium weight, higher reps, medium to higher reps, lighter to medium weight. Very, very relative terms here, but you kind of get the picture. That is what develops more of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Now there's big overlap between the two. So it's not just one or the other. And by the way, I love training for sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Is fantastic. I'm not poo-pooing it at all. It's what you usually see for a lot of like CrossFit wads or bodybuilders, or really just anybody in the gym. I mean, even like a P90X video, or kick it old school back to like Jane Fonda workouts. Those are all higher rep ranges, and what they're doing is they're creating more of. You do get some muscle fiber density, absolutely, but what you're also building is cellular density. Essentially, it's sarcoplasm, the fluid around the muscle cells that allow you to store more glycogen. Which basically take that as that's the bulky kind of muscle building. Okay, if you're going to really classify one of these as bulky, it's the medium, the high rep ranges. It's not the low rep ranges. And again, don't take it from me. Do your own research. If you want to come, there are of course some very minor exceptions, but generally speaking, it's the high rep ranges and the medium rep ranges that add the bulk. If we're going to take fat out of the picture and just look straight at muscle, if you have to pick one, it's the one that everybody says. It's not the one that everybody says the heavy weights. It's the lighter weights that make you bulky. Okay, so that's why if you talk to like a woman, like talk to a housewife who's been doing CrossFit for a while, and she probably loves it. She's seeing all sorts of great things as long as she's lifting safely. And not getting hurt. That's the number one priority, by the way, to all this, especially heavy weights. So, sorry, I'm going around here, but let me just stop and give a caveat. When you're lifting, regardless of the weight you're lifting, if you're picking a pencil off the ground, you got to use proper form, proper safety, proper bracing, breathing techniques. Make sure your connective tissue is healthy enough to be lifting heavy weights, whatever the case may be. So let me just throw that out there. Heavy weights, yes, you need to be very careful. That's really what the concern should be. It's not bulking, it's getting hurt. So let's just say that. But if you talk to somebody who's I've talked to a couple like female CrossFit folks who've frequented a local box, and they've seen great results. But they might say, I got it. I've been doing a lot of Olympic lifts, high reps. And I've sort of developed these traps up here where my neck's getting bigger, and I kind of want to ease off of that. By the way, that doesn't happen overnight. It's not like I just did this workout yesterday and now I look like a football player. That's the kind of thing you're going to see in the mirror. You're going to see it coming. Most women, let alone anybody, don't have the issue of putting on muscle too fast. That is a gift, by the way. That is not something that you need to be afraid of. But if you are afraid of it and you don't want to get too bulky, and you have been putting in the work and you've been putting in the reps and the long term, and you start to see you might be one of those people who does put on muscle pretty well, you're seeing the potential of what your body's able to carry, then you can stop that and you can change your program. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm too big, I'm going to look like this for the rest of my life. Oh crap, you can stop and do something about it. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. But you're going to see those people complaining about being too bulky, women who maybe don't have a lot of fat, but they actually do have a lot of muscle, more than they're comfortable with. It's not going to be the power lifters and the Olympic lifters, those people doing those sort of workouts, or at least by themselves. It's going to be the folks who are doing a lot of high rep stuff. It's going to be CrossFitters and bodybuilders and just folks you see in the gym doing the really intense, workouts that involve just lots of metabolic stress, which is a huge growth factor for muscles. So really, the whole point of this, and wow, this is like 20-minute video. I wanted to be like 2. I should have known better. If you're still with me, thank you so much. You need to get a life. I'm going to wrap this all up. The number one, just a review. Heavy strength training does not make you bulky, okay? Being fat makes you bulky, or having extra fat, we'll say, we'll be nice about it. That makes you bulky, okay? What's underneath that fat can give the appearance that you're maybe fatter than you really are. If you have a lot of muscle but you haven't been taking care of your diet, then yeah, you can appear to be bulkier. You know, that's the way it is. But any personal trainer or nutritionist or dietitian worth anything will tell you that you need to take care of your diet if you want to achieve goals based on aesthetics, based on looks. That is the number one. That is the number one thing. Diet, and then yeah, you can do things like cardio to supplement it, and long-term development of muscle, which will help eventually take care of all that. But you are not going to get, if your diet is in check and you occasionally lift some heavy weights, again with proper form, safety, you know, if you're working out with me or if you're working out with another personal trainer, you make sure, you know, you're not experiencing any pain, your form is solid. That's number one importance. All that aside, if you're lifting heavy weights from time to time, you're not going to get bulky, okay? As long as your diet's good and you're on a nutrition program that's going to help you lose fat. If you're doing, let's say you're very lean, you don't have a lot of fat, but you're doing a lot of like bodybuilding, anything from, we'll just say anything from Jane Fonda all the way to Ronnie Coleman. Everything in between there, that sort of range. Although Ronnie Coleman did do a lot of powerlifting too, but bodybuilders, you're going to develop that muscle that can maybe, it's still good, it's not bad, but it can lead to that bulky effect over time with lots and lots of dedication and persistence. Okay? I think I covered it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Put it in the comments or hit me up on my website, 3stormfitness.com, in the contact section, or a Facebook message, and I'd be happy to try to answer them for you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry this video is so freaking long. I do that all the time. I just expect long videos from me, okay? All right, guys, 3Storm Fitness. Please subscribe to my videos. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.